Thanks for coming back to my channel today. I really appreciate it. I hope you had a nice day. And I hope you're relaxing and ready to enjoy another episode of ASMR Money Mentor. This is another episode that is all about the numbers. I know, snooze fest, right? This may put you to sleep. Because that's what it may do. And just like I said on the last episode, you may want to watch this. Put the phone next to your nightstand or on your nightstand next to your bed and just relax and think about the ASMR aspects of the content of today's episode. And then maybe a little bit later, go back and think about what you learned about where money can grow and in what vehicles. And again, you are learning about personal finance through the lens of someone that has done this over multiple years. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today are in fact my numbers as balances in certain buckets of vehicles that I've created for myself that include both savings and investing. And so with that, let's go ahead and get started. I may have mentioned on a previous episode, or I might be dropping that episode soon, I don't know which. You may know that you've been seeing my episodes on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and I've been tracking the past many years, like 2005, 2006, 2007, 2008, to give you an idea of what my thought processes were during those years. But then I get so excited producing episodes that I want to fill in the gaps and add more episodes. So I'm now dropping things on Tuesday and Thursday and Saturday and Sunday, and so I sometimes get confused over maybe what I'm telling you and sharing with you. But anyway, hopefully you come away from these episodes learning a little bit about different things, and you can put it into perspective and, think about it for your own life and your own financial life going forward. So, with that said, I may have shared with you previously that for me, over the past many years, I have decided to put my money in terms of investments into 4 vehicles. I like to refer to these 4 as the fabulous 4. And that includes my 401k, my Roth IRA, my taxable account, and my health savings account. Now, in this episode, I'm not only talking about investments, but I'm also talking about savings, or what I also called in the last episode, short-term reserves. So I'll give you all of those numbers. Now let's start with my 401k as an investment. I started my 401k back in 1998. And in 1998, I was not putting a lot of money into the 401k. It was maybe 3-4% of my paycheck. This went on for many years. 1999, 2000, 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004. What happened in 2005? I found the money book for the young, fabulous, and broke, and I started to apply the principles of personal finance. And so I realized that I had to put more and more into my 401k. I knew I was putting in the match, but then I decided to put a little bit more in. But at the same time, I heard about the Roth IRA, which is funded with after-tax money. And in a Roth IRA, as well as a 401k, you can put in certain dollar amounts. So just Google it and you'll figure out how much you can put into those vehicles. So for a little while, you might be putting money into your 401k and then funding the Roth. But eventually, and I mean eventually, it may take 5, 10 years. For me, it probably took about 6 or 7 years or more. Finally, you get to the point where you're putting in the maximum in both your Roth and your 401k per year. This could be upwards of $30,000 per year. So at least in the beginning, you might be doing, the 401k for a little while. Maybe you'll max out the Roth, and then you go back to the 401k and you max that out. Again, this may take many years. So, giving you a little bit of that history, I wanted to share with you that my 401k right now, at the end of February of 2024, is at $762,932. At the end of February, that's the number that I recorded, and I'll probably give you these numbers going forward all through 2024. So keep coming back, because it's fun to watch and see what happens with your money as you move forward. So 762,932 is my 401k. My Roth IRA is $186,052 at the end of February 2024. Now the Roth IRA I started in 2006. Now you can only put in, back then it was like $3,000, maybe $4,000 a year. So it's not a lot of money, but I maxed it out every single year since 2006. It's in mutual funds, Vanguard, and I'll talk more about this a little bit later. Vanguard manages my 401k and my Roth IRA. I'm sorry, my Roth IRA. My Roth IRA and my taxable account. More on that a little bit later. But currently my Roth is at this number. Now, as you're clipping along in your career, in your life, you're having fun, you're spending the money every year that I showed you in the last episode, you're fun another bucket. There's going to come a time when you're making more money and you're continuing to max out the 401k, you're continuing to max out the Roth. So maybe you decide, like I did, to open up a taxable account. A taxable account is where you can invest in mutual funds. And you know me, I like to purchase mutual funds that mirror the S&P 500. They're low-cost index funds. In 2016 is when I opened up the taxable account. The taxable account I used to pop in or fund, F-U-N-D, once a year. I didn't dollar cost average into it on a monthly basis. I would look at the end of the year and say, wow, I've got money left over. And instead of putting it into short-term reserves like I do now because I'm closer to retirement, if you're further from retirement, you would probably want to put that money into the taxable account, into the stock market, into mutual funds. So for many years I was doing that, and my taxable account currently at the end of February 2024 sits at $173,106 in my taxable account. The fourth fabulous vehicle that I put my money into is my health savings account. So I have a high deductible healthcare plan, and that means you can put money into a health savings account. That is also in a S&P 500 mutual fund. The current balance of my health savings account at the end of February, $47,918. If you add up all of those numbers, you get $1,170,008. health savings account, I am putting in money there. So when you look at things like how much are these numbers going up or down from one month to the next, you can take a look then at unrealized gains or unrealized losses, because I'm not really selling the shares at all. But right now in 2024, both January and February have shown unrealized gains, meaning the market, as you know, has gone up so far this year. And I have actually made about $34,000 or so in those 4 vehicles in what I like to classify as other, which includes unrealized gains in this case, as well as dividends as well. So that is the fabulous 4. The next thing I would like to share with you in this episode then is short-term reserves. $52,125 is a CD, a certificate of deposit that I purchased in January of 2024 at 5.15% at LI Bank. It's a 3-year CD. I chose to lock in $52,000 in January for 3 years because it was my thought that interest rates are going to go down. And so because we're in that environment, I chose to lock in the 5.15 for 3 years. I also have in my short-term reserve a CD number 2, also at Alley Bank. It's an 18-month CD at 4.125%, which I thought was pretty good. And I only locked that in for 18 months because I wanted to have some liquidity in the next year and a half, so that if I do go into early retirement, I have some money to pull from if I need it. If I don't want to pull funds off of my investments to live in a year, if it happens to be a down market or a bear market. So my goal has been to bring up my short-term reserves a little bit, but I've locked it into these CDs because I knew I was going to continue to work for another year or 2. And then I also have through my credit union a money market, which is paying 5.12% through September of 2024. And so I made a choice this year up through September to put in money. Remember that money from my last episode, like that $44,000 plus the Roth that I might do of $8,000. That's $52,000 of wiggle room that I'm putting into the short-term investments. And so I'm tracking that as I go. So I started the year with $21.61 in my money market, but in January I added $54.50, and in February I added $3,870. Okay. Now, if you add up everything I just shared with you, those 2 CDs, the I-bond. Oh, I didn't mention the I-bond. I purchased I-bonds. The I stands for inflation. And because we were in a high period of inflation, I got some pretty good rates on those I-bonds through treasurydirect.gov. And I purchased, you can do $10,000 per year. So I did $10,000 at the end of 2022, and I did $10,000 right at the beginning of 2023. So those are now just sitting there. I'm not quite sure what to do with those I-bonds, but they're sitting there for now, growing at about 6 to 8%, I think. So all of those numbers is 111,481, $111,481 in short-term reserves at the end of February. Now the next thing I do, so remember, as I've been sharing with you, that my current net worth is $1.5 million. So what you do is you take the numbers that I just gave you for your investments. Remember the 1.1, and then you add in the 111,000. You get 1,281,489. So 1,281,489 in savings and investing. That's the total dollar amount right now. My condo that you're looking at right now, remember I paid it off in 2019. That value is 220,000. So let's add that to that number, and you get the 1.5. It's $1,501,489. So I thought it was important to share those numbers with you. And in closing this episode, I just want to say that you'll be watching some episodes about 2012 coming up that I'm producing. And that was the year that I was a guest on the Susie Orman Show. And at that time, my net worth was $200,000. So I find it so amazing that because I've been putting so much of my money into my investments over these years, remember the last episode, I'm putting in $68,000 per year almost. Now, 5 years ago it wasn't $68,000, it was probably $45,000. But because I'm a late in life saver, and because I started saving at 40 years old and not 25, I've had to put a lot more of my hard-earned money from my income into these savings and investing vehicles to get to $1.5 million in 12 years from $200,000 of a net worth that I had in 2012, if that makes sense. So that means over those 12 years or so, my net worth has been going up about $108,000 per year. But of that $108,000, remember, $68,000 of that is my money that I've been putting into those investments. So to close out this episode, I just want to encourage all of you that are watching that if you're in your early 20s or if you're in your early 30s, start to save and invest now. You won't have to put in as much of your hard-earned money in the years that I had to put that money in, because you will have started over here and you have more time, less money that you're putting into the market, but more time and compounding interest to grow that money potentially to the same number that I have. But you're putting in a lot less of your money in the current year, and you can then enjoy that money and put it into your fun and other bucket to improve the quality of your life now, rather than sacrificing a little bit like I had to do. Why? Because I started at 40 and not at age 25. So with that, everybody, thank you so much for